The video on the bus silenced the squeals and yells of the children, and I took advantage of the quiet to visit the parade of thoughts marching across my inner terrain. My son continued to hold my hand as we rode, and I enjoyed the warmth of his little paw in mine. We were on a kinder excursion from Rehovot to Jerusalem. It was time for the grand ceremony where each of the 6-year-olds would receive his very own siddur and chumash. It was a boy and dad sort of thing, and I was amazed to see that each father had, like me, taken the time off from work to make the trek. There was about 30 boys and 30 fathers, and even more photo and video cameras. It promised not only to be a thrilling event, but one that would be captured for posterity as well. We got off the bus just outside the old city and marched to the Tzemach Tzedek shul. After a few speeches, the boys were called one by one to the podium to receive their siddur and chumash. The fathers were beaming as each boy stood proud and erect. When the ceremony was over, the music began. We hoisted our sons on our shoulders and danced and danced and danced. And when the dancing finally ended, our sons all ran to receive their special kid-safe torches for the torchlit procession through the old city from the Tzemach Tzedek shul to the Kotel, singing all the way. It was a proud but tricky walk because no father, including me, could see where he was going. Each of us had our attention focused directly and only on our sons and their supposed to be safe torches. Arriving at the Kotel in time for the setting sun, the boys lined up, their faces dramatically lit by torchlight, and they recited, screamed, Shema Yisrael, and assorted quotations from the Torah, Talmud, and Tanya. Cameras clicked, videos whirred, torch wars were negotiated, tatis were tired, and with great relief, someone announced that the boys would now eat, while the dads prayed the evening Ma'ariv prayer. Off the boys went, while the fathers huddled in a group at the wall. As I began to pray, I felt a growing affection for this group of men and their sons. This was and would be my and my son's community for years to come. These boys would be his classmates up to and including yeshiva. I would know these dads for years, and their sons would be a major influence on the development of my own child. I began to imagine the collection of photo albums and video cassettes that would accumulate in my home and theirs during the coming years. My albums would contain snapshots of all of their kids, and theirs would have photos of mine. Summer camp, class photos, bar mitzvahs. We were bound and woven into each other's lives. The maturation of each boy would profoundly affect that of all the others. I looked up from my prayer book into the faces of the fathers who surrounded me and knew that each of them carried in his heart the same love and concern for their son as I did for mine. Without intending it, I found the breadth of my prayers wide. I began to ask the Almighty that He watch and protect not only my son, but also each of these boys. I asked that all of us, each father, be provided the wisdom to raise our children properly, to instill in them good and healthy character traits, to recognize their special abilities, and to accept and cherish their weaknesses and limitations. I ask that each father be granted the ability to transform his love into compassion and patience, his hopes and expectations into wise guidance and instruction. I ask the Almighty to bestow His blessings upon all of us and each of us, to see us and bless us as one community. Each family with its own hopes and struggles, its own potential and restrictions, its own grandeur and foibles. and who were doing their very best to live up to the almighty expectations of us. As often happens when I pray at the Kotel, I felt my prayers penetrate the stones, and I was rewarded by that very singular joy that occurs when one feels that he has been truly heard by another. I opened my eyes to see each Ta davening intently. I wondered if we were at that moment all sharing these same thoughts. It didn't much matter, really. Soon we were back on the bus. It was dark now, and we were all tired. Within minutes my son was asleep, his little head resting against my shoulder. I looked around to see 30 little heads resting on the shoulders of 30 tired tatis. And before long, I too fell asleep. I felt my son's hand in mine and took a moment to enjoy the weight of his head on my shoulder and the steady rhythm of his breathing in sleep. It was a good trip. If you'd like, I could show you the pictures.